What up, everybody? Once again, it's me, Chris, here to break down WEC 36 Faber vs. Brown, which is going down Wednesday, November 5th on the Versus Network. As usual, I'm going to start with the main event and work my way down. So first off, we got a WEC 145-pound featherweight title. Uriah Faber versus Mike Brown. Faber was coming off the win over Jens Pulver. Brown's coming off the win over Jeff Curran. I was fortunate to be able to see these fights live because they happened in Sacramento, and so I went to the event. Faber looked good, impressive. Brown, top control win over Curran. This fight, I'm going to go with Faber by decision. Brown's a strong guy. He'll probably have a strength and size advantage on Uriah. But I think other than that, Uriah has advantages over him in every department. Speed, hands, jiu-jitsu. And I just think he's a better overall fighter in my opinion. So I think Brown may be able to win a round or two, putting Uriah on his back maybe with a little top control. But I don't think he's going to be able to do enough to take a decision. And Uriah doesn't finish too many guys. And Brown's got a pretty good team and stuff. He's a pretty experienced fighter, so I don't think he'll get finished. So I'm going to go with Uriah by decision. Next up, 185-pound title. Got a rematch, Paulo Filho versus Chael Sonnen. These guys fought last year in December. Filho won by armbar, although Sonnen disputed the fact that he tapped or verbally submitted, whichever it was. I don't recall. I think he tapped, but he said he didn't. They were supposed to rematch sooner, but Filho had problems with depression and I believe maybe either alcohol or drugs related. So he was in rehab for a while and stuff. Seeing a psychiatrist, getting his head together. In the meantime, Chael fought Brian Baker, dominated him. So if either of these guys have any ring rust, it'll probably be Filho because it's been so long since he fought. The first fight, Sonnen was beating him down pretty good in the first round, controlling him and standing. But in the second, once Filho was on the ground, he slept on that armbar pretty quick. I have a feeling Filho's going to come into this fight more focused. Hopefully got his head straight and took care of what he needed to outside the ring. And so I'm going to go with Filho by submission, possibly an armbar or a choke, something like that. It's interesting that they're having this fight though, since they're basically abolishing the 185 and 205-pound divisions in the WEC next year. So maybe this is a winner goes to the UFC fight. Although even if Filho loses, I think he'll still end up in the UFC. Next up, Jens Pulver against Leonard Garcia. Jens is coming off the loss to Uriah. Garcia is coming off the win over Takaya. This should be a good fight. Should be fight of the night in my opinion. Both guys have similar styles, although I believe Jens is a better wrestler. This is a tough fight to call. It's pretty much a toss-up in my opinion. But I'm going to go with Garcia. Actually, real quick on Garcia. Not sure if you guys are familiar or not. I think this fight was all supposed to happen earlier in this year, but Garcia got busted. He was indicted by the feds on a cocaine ring in Texas, but the charges were dropped, so either he wasn't guilty or they didn't have enough evidence to catch him. Either way, this fight's going down, so that's all that matters. I'm going to go with Garcia, like I said, by decision. I think Jens is a better fighter at this stage in their careers. I just think that Jens has a lot of wear and tear on his body at this point. He's been in the sport for a long time. He's been in a lot of wars. I'm sure that Uriah fight took a little bit more out of him. So Garcia's up and coming. Garcia's a little reckless in there, as you saw in this fight against Huerta, but he looked good in the win over Takaya. And Takaya was coming in off a big win in Japan, so I think they expected maybe him to win. But Garcia won, so like I said, I'm going to go with Garcia by decision. Should be fight of the night. Next up, we got Jake Rochalt versus Danilo Villafort. Rochalt's undefeated, big-time college wrestler, multiple-time NCAA champion, I believe, and All-American. Villafort's a late replacement. I'm not sure for who, but I'm going to go with Rochalt by decision. Villafort's got good jiu-jitsu, I believe, because he submitted Mike Macenzio and he barred him in his last fight. And he might be able to catch Rochalt with that. You never know. But Rochalt's one of those guys I think they're trying to build up because he's got a big name, reputation coming out of college. And so I think this is kind of like a fight where they're kind of trying to showcase fight for him, so to speak. So I'm going to go with Rochalt by decision. Next up, Razor Rob McCullough versus Donald the Cowboy Cerrone. This is probably a number one title shot or a number one contender spot for Jamie Varner's title. McCullough's coming off a boring decision win that I saw in Sacramento. I forgot the guy's name. Boring fight though. Cerrone's coming off a first round submission over Danny Castillo on that same card. This is basically the classic striker versus grappler fight. McCullough showed good takedown defense in the Varner fight, even though he ended up getting KO'd anyway. But that was because he was gassed. Well, it's not. He was gassed, but that wasn't the only reason. Cerrone's a good submission fighter. He's a good all-around fighter, but the ground's his game. And that's where he'll have the advantage here. He's also a really tall guy for the weight class. Another hard fight to call, pretty much a toss-up. But I'm going to go with Cerrone, because I think he has more ways to win. I think McCullough can use those kicks, his Muay Thai, to chop Cerrone down maybe. But if Cerrone's smart, he'll try to find a way to get him down. And if they're on the ground, I think Cerrone has a huge advantage here. As big of an advantage as Razor Rob does on the feet. But I just think Cerrone's going to probably find a way to get him to the ground. And if he does, choke him out. Rear naked choke, guillotine, something like that. Either way, I don't think this fight's going to go to a decision. But should be a good one. Probably the second best fight of the night. Next up, we got Jose Aldo versus Jonathan Brookins. Never heard of Brookins. Aldo's coming off a win over Pequeno Nogueira. Aldo's an exciting fighter out of Brazil. Good soccer kicks. Can't use them in the WEC, unfortunately. I'm going to go with Aldo by TKO. Like I said, don't know anything about Brookins. Seen Aldo fight quite a few times online. Guy's a stud, so I'm going to go with Aldo. Johnny Hendricks, next fight, Johnny Hendricks versus Alex Serdyukov. Hendricks, much like his teammate Rolshaw, big-time college wrestler. I believe he was also a national champion. He was an All-American, I know that. I've seen Serdyukov fight a couple times on WC, like on Unleashed. I think that's what it's called. Maybe not. Wreckage. Looked okay, but this is like with the Rolshaw fight. I think they're trying to build up Hendricks. So I see Hendricks taking a top game decision, taking a Serdyukov down, controlling a position, stuff like that, and grinding out a decision. Next up, we got Hani Yaha versus Yoshihiro Maeda. Yaha's coming off a TKO loss to Kid Yamamoto over in Japan. Maeda's coming off the loss to Miguel Torres earlier this year. Sick fight. Yaha's pretty much a limited fighter. He's really good at jiu-jitsu, but that's his only game. Maeda's primarily a striker, but I think he has a slight background in judo, if I recall correctly. Either way, I just think Maeda's going to win here, probably by TKO, if not by decision. I just think he's the bigger fighter. Like I said, he's more well-rounded. If Yaha gets him down, he could beat him, but it's not going to be easy getting him there, and I think Maeda can be able to survive on the ground as long as Yaha doesn't get his back. So I'm going to go with Maeda by stoppage or decision. Next up, we got Danny Castillo versus Ed 9mm Ratcliffe. Castillo's coming off the loss to Cerrone. Ratcliffe's coming off the loss to Marcus Hicks. I saw that Castillo fight against Cerrone, like I said. Got subbed early. Didn't even look like he just looked like a fighter that wasn't on the same level. I thought he was just fighting because he was in Sacramento and that's where the guy's from. Either way, I'm going to go with Ed. Even though he got crushed by Hicks, I think he's just got a more... he's an explosive fighter. He's got a lot more... It's going to be... he's a striker. Castillo, I believe, is a grappler, wrestler. But I think Ed's going to catch him either in the first or second round, knock him out. Hopefully, Ed 9mm Ratcliffe's a sick fighter. He's got some awesome stand-up, very unorthodox. Got that karate style. Last up, we got Steve Steinbeis versus Carmelo Moreira. Moreira's a last-minute filling in for Alex Schonauer. Fought in the UFC a few times, went 1-2. He's taking the fight really last minute, so based on that alone, I'm going to go with Steinbeis by decision. So that's pretty much it. Should be a good night of fights. WC never really disappoints. So that's it for now. Maybe I'll hit you guys up after the fights, let you know what I thought. Until then, I'm out of here. Bye.